If you decided to go on a book buying ban or to stick to a specific book buying budget, these 5 tips will help you to actually stick to the plan.
Hey, what's up? My name is Daniela and welcome to a new video. So today we are talking about sticking to a book buying ban or a book budget, and my credentials for making this video is that a few years ago I did a year-long book buying ban and I actually stuck to it and I didn't buy a single book. Now that was a pretty extreme challenge for someone who is very active in the book spaces. So whether you're doing a year-long book buying ban like I did, or you're doing a month-long book buying ban, or you just want to stick to a specific budget, or even if you want to limit your spending in some other category than books, like let's say clothes or makeup, craft supplies, whatever it might be, I think that these tips will also be relevant to you. Before we dive into the tips, don't forget to like this video so that more people can see it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. Okay, so tip number 1, you might say it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, and that is to figure out your why. Why are you doing the book buying ban, or why do you want to stick to a specific budget? This is very important to realize. Maybe you want to finally read the books on your shelves that you're excited about, but also you keep getting distracted by newer books. Maybe your main focus is to save money, and it is good to be very specific. So why are you saving the money? Do you want to pay off a debt? Do you want to save for a specific thing, like a trip? Maybe you want to break the habit of mindlessly buying new books, so you want to take a pause and become more intentional about what you buy. Whichever it is, have a think about it and then write it down. If you're going into this thinking, oh, this is just something I feel like I should do, I kind of feel guilty and I kind of want to do this and spend less money, that's not going to work. Tip number 2 is be realistic about the rules. Different things are going to work for different people. So for me, the year-long book buying ban worked. For you, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's a budget instead of going cold turkey. You might already know about yourself if you work better if something is all or nothing, or if it's better for you if you can do it in moderation and if you can actually stick to the level of moderation you want to keep. I know that for me, I work much better when it's all or nothing, instead of having to kind of justify different situations or thinking about if this counts or this counts. But for you, it might be the moderation approach that is better. So be realistic. You can always start small with 1 month or even 2 weeks and build up from there. If you're constantly going over budget, maybe you can try all or nothing for a while. If buying no books for a period of time seems too restrictive, try the budget, just tweak it to your needs. You can also do a mix of both of the approaches and set up some exceptions beforehand. So for example, you might know that you have a trip coming up and you always like buying books on trips. That is me. So you can work this into your rules that you can buy X amount of books on this trip, or you know that your favorite author is coming up with a new book and you will want to buy it, pre-order it. As long as it is set beforehand, it should work. This can lead to a trap of setting new exceptions during the challenge, so be careful with that. Tip number 3 is a little bit controversial, but I am a firm believer in it. So a lot of people are doing low buy, no buy years this year, and half of the people are saying declutter your things before you begin, and the other half is saying don't do that. And yeah, I think you should definitely organize your bookshelves. At the very least, dust the shelf, maybe do a little bit of reorganization, and maybe get rid of the books you're not excited about. Some people will say that, well, if you're embarking on a no buy, it is good to have more options. But I think that if you have books that you're really not excited about, they are just modeling the books you're excited about, and so then the books you're actually want to read can't shine and get lost between the ones that you just feel meh about, and it's just not helping the situation. It definitely happens to me that whenever I give my bookshelves a makeover, I become more excited about the books that are on my TBR, so I think it's worth trying. Number 4 is an important one, and that is to think of strategies of how you're going to avoid buying books. When I was doing my year-long book buying ban, there were definitely times when I purposefully avoided going into bookstores because the temptation would just be too big. And also, I remember that I stopped watching book hauls for a while there. because same thing, it's temptation. So whatever you think you might need to do, take that into account. You can also unsubscribe from various newsletters that motivate you to buy books. You can also temporarily delete some book buying apps on your phone. You can also figure out a plan of what you're going to do when the urge to buy books will hit. This can be things like, I will get up and go to a library instead of going to a bookstore, or I will text a friend and say that I want to buy a book. If you want to get free books during the period when you're not buying books, there are a ton of options of how to acquire them. This will differ based on your location, and some locations are definitely more disadvantaged in this than others. Some options include utilizing the library, both physical and online. You can look for free little libraries in your area. There are authors who offer their books in the ebook format for free, either for an extended period of time or maybe for just a day promotion event. You can do book swaps with friends or people in your area. I found that Facebook groups are especially helpful for this. Obviously, you can ask for books as gifts for your birthday or Christmas or events like this. Or if you're a reviewer on the internet, you can use services like NetGalley. And then tip number 5, I think it's probably the most important, or I find that for my goals, that is the thing that makes it or breaks it usually, and that is to actually commit. If you actually want to do it, just in your mind fully commit to it. Don't be half decided and kind of wishy-washy and like just thinking, oh, it would be nice but we will see. I mean, you can do stuff like that obviously, but if you actually really 100% want to do something, I think that really committing to it in your head will make a lot of difference. I think if you fully commit and you have the strategies, your success probability will just greatly increase. If you have just one of them, maybe not that much, but in combination, I think that's the formula. I think in the book community, we tend to often joke about book buying bans and book budgets, and people will say things like, oops, I meant to go on a book buying ban and I already bought a book like a week after that. And while that is totally fine, as a joke, I think it's good to differentiate between, you know, kind of trying something and actually doing it. Or maybe the people are actually trying but are really struggling, which is very valid. But in either case, I think it can sometimes create this narrative that if you're active in the book community, it is impossible for you to set any boundaries and nobody actually sticks to them. But that's not true. I am a living example that you can do a year-long book buying ban. I know of a few other creators who also went on a successful book buying bans or stuck to their budget, so it's definitely doable. Okay, and my bonus tip is to be nice to yourself if you don't stick to the plan. If you slip up, if you do something that wasn't on the plan, it doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that you have to end the challenge, the ban. It doesn't mean you have to start from the beginning. This is not 7 to 5 hard. This is your challenge. You're doing it for a specific reason that you set for yourself at the beginning. If the intent is no longer working for you, it's okay to re-evaluate. But yeah, you definitely don't need to beat yourself up. It's completely fine. Those are my best tips on this topic. Let me know what you think. Have you ever tried to do book buying ban or to stick to a budget? Are you doing a low buy or no buy year in some categories this year? Do you agree with my advice, or would you advise people to do something else? If you just want to let me know you were here, I always appreciate it, and you can just leave me a book stack emoji, kind of ironically. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!